What's going on, everyone? So now that the dust has settled, let's talk a little more about Dan Hurley. Now, to me, this was never about money. I know a lot of people are upset and bothered by the Lakers, the 6 years, 70 million, which is only half a million a year away from what was like reported, which was 8 years, 100 million, right? The other thing is, like, I see people talking about, like, oh, well, we could have at least matched the Kentucky offer. Well, they offered 11 million a year, and we offered 11.6, something like that would have been the payout for that. And also, part of a negotiation is like, hey, we'll give you whatever, 11.5 million. No, I want 13 million. We'll give you 12.5 million. You get what I'm saying? Like this back and forth type of, you have this negotiation, you have these talks, right? Unless the Lakers went and made him the biggest head coach salary-wise in the NBA, and it was something like 20 million a year, something crazy, I just never saw him leaving UConn to go take the job. Again, UConn, he's making less money, right? He took less money to stay in UConn, right? Like, then even what the Lakers offered with the 6-year deal. The other thing that I think a lot of people aren't like talking about, and again, I wanted Dan Hurley. I liked Dan Hurley. I thought he could have been a real culture change, real just shift in the way that the Lakers operated, right? But who's to say it worked, right? So what happens if, let's say we gave him 10 years, 150 million, and he makes 15 million a year, and 3-4 years in, it's a disaster. Now what? Now the Lakers are stuck like paying him out? We're gonna fire him, or we're gonna ride out his like, it would have still been a gamble. Right now, I do think that he would have been a likely safer gamble than, say, like a JJ Redick or a James Borrego or any of these guys. But he's never coached on an NBA level. We have history that shows college coaches going to the NBA usually don't translate and work out the way that we want them to or hoping that they do. Right now, again, I believe that Dan Hurley would have been one of the coaches to kind of break the mold, but there's no guarantee. It still was a gamble. And it's like, so what is the area? What is the line? Right? The Lakers offer would have made him the 6th highest paid head coach in the NBA for a first time ever head coach in the NBA. Right? Like, if they would have came in with, say, like 3 million a year or something, or 5 million a year, I would have been like, yeah, like that's silly. I don't believe this was ever about the money, which I kept talking about, right? All the videos I made, everything that we were discussing, right? Responding to comments, all that stuff. What did I keep saying? The money doesn't have anything to do with it. Right? The Lakers could have offered him probably 20 million. I still don't know if he would have taken it. Right? All the reasons that Woj said he chose not to sign with the Lakers was everything that I said. Literally verbatim. I said that this is why he's not going to sign. And then Woj came out and said, hey, this is why he's not going to sign. Again, evidence is on the channel, right? And again, I'm not an insider. I'm just a fan. Right? I'm not some guy. I wasn't talking to Woj. I wasn't talking to Dan Hurley. It's just, I took a step back. I looked at the situation, and I said, it makes no sense for him to come, right? Because, again, his family and his life, he's happy, right? If he was a single bachelor, 35 years old, living his best, like, yeah, go to LA, you got the beach, the weather, the girls, the nightlife, you get to coach the Lakers, you get to coach, like, JJ Redick makes all the sense in the world to be the Lakers head coach. I'm not saying he's single or something like that, but I'm saying he's young, he doesn't have the experience, he doesn't have like that other, he can stay in commentary, but as far as head coaching, like where Dan had the fallback of UConn. Like, JJ, he doesnn't have like, I just stay at, whatever, Duke and coach, right? No, it's nothing like that. Like, for JJ, the Lakers make all the sense in the world. He gets to be a first-time ever head coach in the NBA and immediately coach one of the most prestigious franchises, right? Like, and I see a lot of people that are like, the Lakers just don't have the luster that they did. You can make an argument they never did when it comes to coaches, right? Coach K turned down what would translate in today's modern time to like 11.5 million a year, and that was back in 2004. right? Like back then it would have been like 8.5 or whatever, but still the point is like he would have been the highest paid coach in history, right? If he would have taken that job, and he didn't, right? So I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think it had to do with what Woj said and what I talked about. He would be walking away from cementing himself as an all-time great coach, right? I mean, he already is perceived as that, but also the history of doing something that hasn't been done in like 60, 70 years or whatever it's been. Last time somebody three-peated in the national championship was like in the 60s or something like that, right? So you're talking about a guy that like has the chance to actually chase history here. The NBA isn't going anywhere. It's not, right? Like, you don't think that when he does in, let's say, 2-3 years is like, I three-peated, I did everything that I want to do, let's make the jump to the NBA. You don't think that somebody's going to be like, oh, it wasn't like the Lakers were the only option he was ever going to have in the NBA, right? It was the right coach, the wrong time. Right? That's what it was. And look, 2-3 years from now, he may still end up being the head coach. Lakers could sign JJ Redick, James Borrego, whomever it may be. And guess what? Like, they could easily just end up slotting in and end up firing that guy, and he comes back and gets the deal. Who knows? But it's just, again, he had so much to walk away from. And the complete lifestyle change from going from Connecticut to Los Angeles, I mean, it would have to change his entire life. And another big thing is taxes. Right? Like, Connecticut has like 3 to 6% tax rate. Like, California is like 10%. Right? So, like, you're talking about literally anywhere from a 7 to 4% difference as far as the tax rate goes. Right? Like, all of those factors matter. And you start stacking all these little things together. Right? To me, I said this. I believe that this was a leverage play by Dan. I think this was leverage. I do, right? I think he wanted more money in UConn. He wanted to stay in UConn. I think that they were kind of like, oh, we'll offer you that. He's like, no, I don't really, and Ray was able to get a little extra money, right? But I don't think it was ultimately about the money. I don't believe it was about the money. I think, look, and when I say that it was a leverage play, I don't necessarily think that he didn't and wasn't interested in the Lakers job. I do. And look, I talked about this before. It's you want to explore your options, right? Like, if you could be happy, like, take you personally, right? Let's say you have a job you're happy at, you're comfortable at, you enjoy it, you're getting paid well, right? But you get this job offer over here. And it's like, okay, like, are you just going to say like, nah, I'm happy and comfortable? Or are you going to at least, listen? You can at least listen to the potential opportunity and then weigh the option. Yeah, of course, right? Like, okay, well, what if this opportunity is better, right? Oh, they pay a little more money, but I'd have to kind of start from scratch, right? I got seniority here, right? Like, I get a pay raise, I can, go talk to them. Oh, let's see what they're offering, though. Let's go. And then you get the thing, like, hey, they're offering whatever, 50 cents more an hour or something, right? Hey, you go to your job. Hey, can you give me that extra 50 cents? We can't get you 50, but we can do 30. We get you 30 cents extra an hour. Like, all right, well, now I still maintain my seniority. You don't have to worry about anything. Like, thanks for the opportunity. Doesn't mean you weren't interested. It doesn't mean that you might have not have taken the job, right? It's just you're comfortable where you're at and they're working with you. Why wouldn't you stay? That's how I kind of look at this Dan situation. I think Dan is like, I could go coach the Lakers, right? Like, get paid, right? Like, it's not, I said this before, it's not like he's going from making $100,000 a year to potentially 8 years, $100 million, or even 6 years, $70 million, right? No, he's going from making, $6-7 million a year anyway to like, okay, now I can maybe make 12, right? Or 12 and a half. But then you factor in taxes, and it's like, okay, well, really, I'm making less than I'm making at UConn, right? Like, it's just, again, I don't believe money was a factor. I don't think he cared about the money. He turned down Kentucky that was willing to pay him double what he was paying. Like, the guy has shown time and time again, and this is what I've talked about. The guy doesn't care about money. Not everybody does. I understand for people like myself and you, right? We're not rich. Like, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not even 100,000-aire, right? Like, I'm making a pennies trying to get by, right? Like, we all are, right? We're all trying to climb the ranks. Obviously, one day I hope to get there, but like, I'm nowhere near that, right? I'm not some like millionaire guru, right? I don't have a course, right? Like, none of that stuff, right? So to us, we're looking at it as like, man, how could you turn down that kind of money? You get to stay in LA, you get to be with the Lakers, but the reality is that like, for somebody like Dan, who is making that kind of generational money already, it's not that big of a gap, right? Say you're making 100,000 a year right now, right? To go from 100,000 to 125, 130,000, yes, that's more money, but that's not going to completely change your lifestyle. That's not so much more money to where it's like, oh man, like let me kick my feet up, man. Dinner's on me every night. No, right? Like it's not the situation, right? That's kind of the scale, right? Like him going from like, hey, okay, I'm making, he'll be making like 8 million or whatever it is with UConn to, okay, I can make an extra 3.5 million, but then after taxes, it's like an extra couple 100,000. Like, it doesn't change his lifestyle. It doesn't change the way he operates his life. It's not that big of a gap. But to us, myself, like even I was like, man, like that's a lot of money to turn. If somebody offered me a quarter of that, I'd take that, right? But again, I'm making an average living, right? Like, so somebody to me that's making an average living, looking at, millions, it's a different perspective, right? Because I don't know what that's like. But to somebody like him, it's not as big of an impact, right? So I was able to just take a step back and go, okay, like the money factor doesn't matter unless it's that significant. Like I said, if the Lakers were offering him, 6 years, 200 million, then yeah, you're probably like, yeah, that's a big jump, right? Even with taxes. But to me, it was never about the money. It was always about like, hey, I want to be comfortable. This is where I want to be. Which is why I just didn't think he was going to take it. So now we're back on the grind, back on the coaching search. I still think it's going to be JJ Redick. Again, I could be wrong. Been wrong before, right? But I think it's going to be JJ. But talk about that going forward. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that makes perfect sense, makes, it wasn't about the money, it was a leverage play? Do you think, no, it just didn't work out? I ever feel, whatever your thoughts are. Love to hear. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.